It's interesting in Belfast because taxi drivers in most businesses around Northern Ireland, they're all self-employed. And whenever a job is taken from a customer and it's sent out to a driver can decide whether he wants to take that booking or not. And there's been a lot of discussion over the last few years, for example, about Hill Street and whether Hill Street should be pedestrianised. Now, I know that's not to do with congestion, but Hill Street's a great example of something we would love to see pedestrianised, because drivers don't like going into Hill Street. They get stuck in a queue of traffic. They have to look for their customer. It takes them forever to get out of. So in the same way as drivers might avoid going to Hill Street if that came up as a booking, drivers might also avoid taking a booking somewhere around Great Victoria Street or the Titanic Quarter because they know they're going to be stuck in traffic. So as a result, what we've found is that while our overall booking numbers are much the same, because demand always seems to exceed supply in the taxi game these days, in the area specifically affected by the Boyne Bridge closure and Durham Street closure, we're seeing a slight drop off in terms of the number of bookings that we're doing in those areas. Now that could be because passengers are just not going into those areas in the first place, or it could be because drivers are voting not to take those bookings because they're more hassle than they're worth. Part of the problem we have with the network of roads around Belfast is this isn't New York, where you've got a grid system with multiple lanes going north and south, multiple lanes going east and west. Our problem is that the traffic tends to get condensed into particular areas. And in this case, it's condensed into Great Victoria Street and Dublin Road. Now, the issue with that perhaps is that in recent years, Dublin Road has gone from 3 lanes of traffic to 1 lane of general traffic, 1 bus lane and 1 cycle lane. And that's fine. There's a need for a bus lane and there's a need for a cycle lane. But that change was made on the basis that Durham Street would still be available to cars. And with Durham Street closed, that means that all traffic is currently coming down Dublin Road and it's being bottlenecked into 1 lane, and that's causing some of the congestion. So some of the things that we might suggest there is perhaps a temporary realignment, perhaps combine the bus lanes and the cycle lane on Dublin Road, which would free up one of the lanes there. Perhaps one of the other things is traffic maybe exiting the city coming down Bedford Street, rather than that being directed onto Dublin Road. Could it perhaps go down Ormeau Avenue, Ormeau Road, and then rejoin the south of the city further out of the city? So you're taking a little bit of the pressure off Dublin Road, a little bit of pressure off Great Victoria Street. But there's another aspect as well. If you're coming south from Great Victoria Street, there is 2-way traffic on Hope Street and Bruce Street here, but there's no right turn available. So one of the things that we might suggest is to temporarily allow traffic to turn right. So if it's going southbound on Great Victoria Street, it can go right onto Bruce Street and then on down Sandy Road that way, which gives another exit route out of the city. Might need a little bit of rephasing on the lights and a realignment of the traffic island that's there at the moment. But if Durham Street's going to be closed for a year, surely it's small fry in the scheme of things. The problem partly is that roadworks go on all year round, but because once you get into September, traffic moves a little bit slower because the schools are back, the weather has an impact on traffic speeds as well. All of a sudden we're perhaps looking for, well, why is the traffic moving slower? Now, part of it is the amount of cars on the road, but then the issue of roadworks becomes much more important. Now, there are some things which are scheduled. The Durham Street, the Grand Central Station, scheduled, Sydenham Bypass scheduled. But there's other things as well. For example, if you go down the Shore Road in North Belfast, there's emergency sewer works on there at the moment. So there's always going to be things like that which will, I suppose, trip up the transport system. And back, I think I made the point earlier, we don't have that many arterial routes coming in out of the city. So once one gets snarled up, unfortunately, it creates problems for everybody.